Looks like this kid thing is really working out for you. All of the shopping, none of the stretch marks.
Not a good time.
On any given TV show, if it's working, there's a family dynamic going on, and there's the mother, father, and the child, and Uncle Charlie. Bringing in the baby brings in a baby. You know, it does the same thing to a family on TV as it does to any family. It creates jealousies and just creates new dynamics, which is always what we're trying to do. We're always trying to just throw things into the mix and see what happens.
Hey, what are you doing?
Baby barf. Maternity ward was handing out free samples. You can't handle wearing that stain. You can't handle a baby.
She's a woman somewhere around 40. It's nebulous. And she is a hardworking, professional woman who's got a lot on her plate. And I don't think it's possible to hit that age as a single woman with no children and not have the question come up as to whether or not you want to be a mother. It's a really hard question to answer honestly, because there are so many things that influence a female. There's society, religion, your family, commercials, entertainment in general. All these things are kind of thrown at you and giving you an idea of what it means to be a woman and what a woman should do with one's life. I think for Cuddy, she came to the conclusion that it was something she wanted to do no matter what.
Is it really worth it? Just for the pursuit of unconditional love?
Only you could see that as a bad thing.
We were also starting to pursue the Cuddy House relationship this year. And so it was in that context that we were looking for what we can do with Cuddy.
They had an idea that House and Cuddy should have this beautiful moment together. And they were trying to find a deep enough tragedy for both of them that could get them to a place of that kind of vulnerability. So there's this wonderful story about her almost getting a baby and then the baby being taken away.
When I saw you hold her and the look on your face, that's when I realized I can't.
So that was how the story kind of wove in and became about, for Cuddy, a baby, for House, his father dying and the loss of his friendship with Wilson.
My mom didn't call Cuddy. She called you. I knew you couldn't stay away. I knew you loved me too much.
I'm doing this for your mom.
I thought it was a really incredible piece of writing. I loved the conclusion of that with the kiss. I think that's like the finest way of these two characters to find each other in an intimate moment is through pain.
Right.
Good night. I don't feel this is a new direction. I think this is the direction we've been in all along. Maybe I was just lying to myself, but it seemed to me from the pilot episode that these were two people, House and Cuddy, that had chemistry with each other and complete incompatibility in some ways and absolute compatibility in other ways. And I think because of that, it kind of exaggerated the void that Cuddy feels in her own life, which would further compel her to adopt a baby or have a baby, however it could happen in her world.
As all our stories are, it just seemed like a natural place to go, and then trying to maximize the dramatic import we can get from it. And so, you know, one step forward, two step back, and all that, and have her try and try and try again, and then
yeah, we have been
eventually
laying the groundwork for.
Yeah, eventually either she gives up or we give her a baby, and we gave her a baby.
She meets a young girl who is dying from a pregnancy-related disorder, which meant that she abandoned a newborn infant in an abandoned building.
I didn't even bury her. Just put my coat over her.
I mean, all those things are just so horrifying to think about. It's horrifying alone, and then in the context of Cuddy's experience at that moment is even more so. And then for it to end in this beautiful baby becoming a part of her life, I think it's great.
What's gonna happen to her?
I become a foster parent, and then I adopt.
Merry Christmas, Cuddy.
Then we also had to think about how that impacts her relationship with House. So we didn't know exactly how her story with House and her relationship with House, and how does that change if she has a baby or doesn't have a baby, or does it change?
Which is really what we're looking for in all our stories, is just a chance to have House reflect on people's choices.
You decided to keep her. Thank you for telling me. You can go now.
Initially, there's a lot of jealousy between House and the baby. I mean, the baby's not jealous of House. The baby doesn't really care. But House is definitely having a problem with the whole situation. He's being bratty. He's trying to get my attention in all kinds of ways. He's trying to convince me I'm a lousy mother. He's doing everything and anything that would be considered unsupportive of the situation that I was in.
I figured that the new mother brings the baby to work because she wants to listen to all the cooing.
If you're gonna wait, you can wait outside.
Unless the new mother brings the baby to work because she wants to dump the baby. Because she hates the baby and thinks she made a big mistake.
Well, we had fun with that over several stories. House competing with the baby, and how, because he had been the baby in her life, and now there's a real baby in her life, and she has to change her priorities and react differently. And he has to adapt, except he doesn't.
I've got a DYFS home visit on Friday.
And I've got a WHORE visit on...
Mama's busy. You two are gonna have to go play outside for a while. But then, of course, she's a complete failure as a mother. She can't do it. It's ridiculous. So she has no idea how to be the mother of the hospital, the caretaker of house, and the adoptive parent of this baby.
What's wrong?
And she, I think, is ready to throw in the towel. She's ready to give the baby back.
I don't feel anything.
You're tired.
I loved that episode where Cuddy has not yet figured out how to connect with a baby, and in a really understandable and relatable yet not very frequently talked about way is questioning whether or not this was not only the right choice or whether she's good at it, but whether this is simply something she even wants to do.
I know I'm supposed to feel amazement. I'm supposed to love her. I don't feel anything at all.
Surprise, maybe you shouldn't be a mother. Maybe you're a really lousy mom. And that I thought was fantastic. That was a great arc and really interesting. And I don't think that unusual. I don't think there's really any way to prepare for parenthood.
I've read every bonding and attachment book there is. I feel like I'm in prison at home. I feel like I'm free here.
The parents make sacrifices.
I don't know if I want to.
It can really sort of throw you for a loop when you're used to running a hospital and you're used to having people who understand what it is you're asking for, and babies are not like that. So Cuddy had a little bit of a hard time connecting and figuring out her language with that child.
We work very hard to find some new way of looking at things. We don't always succeed, I'm sure, but it's very important to us that we don't just say what other shows have seen, what I've seen a dozen times or more before on TV. The stories we like telling are throwing our people in a situation and then taking a different look at it, but hopefully a truthful look, not just turning things on their head for the sake of turning things on their head, but finding some truth in there that maybe people haven't said or haven't observed or haven't noticed.
I think the hardest scene for me was the scene where I actually had to scream at a crying baby. I had to be crying, screaming at a crying baby, and it was really awful for me because that's a real baby who's really crying and I'm screaming at it. It was really difficult. It was really difficult. I don't know what you want. I will give you anything that you want. I don't know what it is. Tell me, please. Just help me, please. This is not a show where people are busy worrying about being good examples.
That worked.
This is as un-PC as it can be on network television, and I think the point is to do that, to just kind of tell it like it is, not like you want it to be, and I think that's part of what people like. I think the fact that she totally sucked as a mother first is more honest and more interesting than suddenly her being able to do everything all at once. But she gets better. Cuddy gets better.